The Vocari did not believe in ghosts. They were an empire of logic, expansion, and computation. When their deep survey array detected faint quantum echoes from a system long deemed lifeless, it was classified as a minor anomaly, nothing more, and, yet within hours, an expeditionary fleet was en route to the Sol system. The flagship, Inevitable Clarity, emerged from slip space in high orbit around Earth, an ashen marble wrapped in thick, tumultuous clouds. The atmosphere churned with chaotic weather patterns. No satellites, no radio transmissions, no evidence of orbital activity. "Planetary scan complete," reported the Vocari Prime analyst, a creature of glass filaments and whisper code. "No biosigns. Surface lifeless. Core readings unusual." Unusual. How? Admiral Selak Vey asked. His voice was soft, but the tone beneath it could bend protocol. The analyst hesitated. Odd for a machine symbiotic intelligence. "There is power," it said finally. Coherent energy signatures radiating from beneath the mantle. Patterned. Non-random. Artificial. Selak studied the projection. Earth was supposed to be dead, scorched in its final war 2 millennia ago, left a hollow husk after the Terrans annihilated themselves in some reckless leap toward singularity. But that was structure. "We'll confirm manually," Selak decided. "Send a scout vessel into the atmosphere. Visual confirmation only. No provocation." The Vernal Wing, a sleek recon craft, dropped into the upper stratosphere. Within seconds, contact was lost. No distress signal. No data. Just silence. The bridge of Inevitable Clarity fell into quiet tension. Crew and command nodes checked and rechecked instruments. Scans showed the ship intact, hovering, stationary, yet it didn't respond. "It's still there," whispered Sub-Commander Vey, her usually flawless composure cracked. "But its systems aren't, like it's been paused." No retrieval. "Attempts yet," Selak ordered. "Analyze first." New scans showed strange anomalies forming around the ship. The clouds near the Vernal Wing churned in slow, deliberate spirals, defying atmospheric models. And then, for one brief moment, the flagship's long-range array picked up a signal. A voice. In Terran English. "You shouldn't have come back." Selak froze. Replay that, verify, but the signal was gone. Corrupted, scrambled at the quantum level. Only one thing was clear: it had been human. Selak summoned his war council. The gathered officers, grown in high-pressure conflict environments and programmed for rational response, showed unease. The Vocari had wiped out rebellions, broken supernova hives, and shattered fortress moons. But this wasn't resistance. It was warning. "We believed Earth to be extinct," Selak said. "But we never confirmed the nature of its end. If a fragment of Terran intelligence survives..." One of the commanders, a data-bonded veteran named Thress, interrupted. "We must leave. Destroy the Vernal Wing and exit the system." Selak looked at her. "Why?" "Because if the Terrans aren't extinct," she said quietly, "then they've been watching." Outside, the clouds over Earth began to shift, like something beneath them was rising. Scans failed, visual feeds distorted. One final image, snatched by an orbiting drone just before it collapsed, showed something impossible: the shapes of cities, beneath the cloud cover, glowing faintly. Alive. Selak stared at the frozen image. "Begin lockdown protocol. Hold position." "But Admiral," Thress protested, "what are we holding for?" Selak didn't answer. He didn't need to, because something in his gut, buried beneath logic, training, and empire, whispered the answer. Earth was not dead. It was dreaming, and something was waking up. The second ship vanished 12 hours after the first. No alarms, no explosions, no radiation flares. One moment, the pale vector was holding stationary above the Indian Ocean. The next, it was gone. as if the void had blinked and forgotten it. Admiral Selak Vey stood on the bridge of inevitable clarity, staring at the empty space where two ships should have been. "They're not destroyed," murmured the sensor technician. "No debris fields, no energy signature. Just null space." Selak's command staff clustered around the projection sphere. All eyes were fixed on the roiling clouds below. The clouds moved wrong, too smooth, too synchronized, like the surface of something living. Commander Thress returned from the ship's inner sanctum, where the Vokari's synthetic intelligence had been running continuous models. "It's not weather," she said flatly. "The patterns aren't natural, they're recursive." Selak turned to her. "Explain." "They're fractal code loops," she said, voice low. "The cloud layers are shifting according to ancient encryption structures, Terran ones we haven't seen in over 2,000 cycles." She placed a data shard into the projection node. It lit up with a model of Earth's upper atmosphere. "Someone, or something, is generating these formations intentionally," she said. "It's not defending the surface. It's broadcasting." "To who?" someone asked. No one answered. Hours later, the Harbor Light frigate descended to skim the edge of the cloud ceiling, trying to capture clearer images. Its crew sent back a single frame before the signal died. A humanoid figure, impossibly tall, standing on the upper layer of the clouds, arms folded, watching. "It's a fabrication," said one of the techs. "Atmospheric distortion, pareidolia." But they all saw the same thing. A humanoid form where no person could survive, with no suit, no ship. It had no features, just a silhouette etched in plasma against the storm. Then came the transmission. From the Harbor Light, just before its systems collapsed. In Old Terran English, calm, measured, human. "Your eyes are too small to see us, but we see you just fine." Then silence. Total silence. Panic began to spread among the fleet. A dozen vessels now hovered on the edge of Earth's orbit, holding formation only because their protocols prevented immediate retreat. Mutiny protocols were activated on 2 escort craft. One Vokari captain initiated a self-destruct rather than risk infection. Selak called a full fleet lockdown. No transmissions, no drone launches, no ship movement. He paced the war room like a caged predator. "What is Earth hiding?" "Nothing," said Thress. "That's the point." She looked up from her console. "Earth isn't defending anything. It is the defense." Selak ordered a deep scan using the Inevitable Clarity's core drill arrays, a risk, but a necessary one. As the energy lances penetrated the cloud barrier, the ship's systems began to glitch, slight distortions. Data bleed. Fragments of old Terran code began appearing in unrelated subsystems, like ghosts hitching rides through electricity. Then the lights flickered, the projection sphere flared, and every screen aboard lit up with one word: remember. Whisper echoed in the minds of every crew member. Telepathic? Impossible. We were never gone. We were always waiting. You just forgot to look up. 30 minutes later, the shattered Grace frigate vanished, then the Ecliptus, then the comms relay. One by one, the fleet went silent. Selak watched the destruction of his expedition unfold without a single weapon being fired, and he understood. This was not an attack. It was a reminder. Far below, beneath the clouds, thousands of lights pulsed in rhythm, matching the heartbeat of something ancient, something watching, something human. The fleet had no answers, only silence. By now, 9 ships had vanished, not destroyed, erased. Every data trail cut, every trace gone. The survivors, scattered in high orbit, maintained radio discipline out of fear more than protocol. Admiral Selak Vey was running out of time and options, so he turned to the last thing the Vokari feared more than death: Terran relics. Deep in the Inevitable Clarity's vault, a single Terran artifact had remained sealed for over 600 cycles. A recovered black box from the last days of Earth's golden age, preserved, but never opened. Until now. The chamber doors hissed open as Commander Thress joined Selak in the vault. The artifact floated in containment stasis, an obsidian shard, etched with fractal data structures. Impossible to decode. Until today. Run the field alignment, Selak ordered. Thress hesitated. You're sure? He met her eyes. I'd rather face what's inside than watch our fleet vanish one by one. With a breath, she nodded and activated the decryption key. The shard pulsed, lights dimmed, and then the room filled with sound, music. Not noise, not code, but ancient Terran symphonics, cello, piano, and something else. A voice. Not a warning. A message. Echo Protocol, last will of Earth. If you're hearing this, you've broken the silence. You have forgotten who we were. Let us remind you. A figure appeared in the vault, projected from the shard. An ancient, human in worn combat armor, eyes like galaxies. I am Marshal Elias Rune, Earth Council 2499. If you've found this, we're gone. But not dead. We have become memory. Thress stared in awe. Is this an AI? No, Selak murmured. That's a recording. This was meant for us, for anyone who came back. The projection continued. We left warnings. We sealed Earth beneath layers of quantum haze. Clouds that remember, clouds that defend. But curiosity is a powerful virus. Behind Elias, images flickered. Flashes of Terran cities engulfed in light, ships folding inside out, stars dimming and reigniting. We ascended too far. We touched the fundamental laws and rewrote them. We couldn't trust ourselves with what we became. The lights pulsed in time with the voice. We encoded our consciousness into the very fabric of the Earth, our cities, our minds, our dreams, woven into the storm. Earth is not dead. Earth is asleep. Thress whispered. That's what the fleet disturbed. The message's tone darkened. If you've come to conquer, you will vanish. If you've come to steal, you will forget yourselves. But if you've come to understand, step carefully, because we remember everything. The projection dimmed. The vault fell silent. Selak stood still for a long time, the echo of the message ringing in his skull. Not a threat, but a truth. The Terrans hadn't merely survived their apocalypse. They had become their world. The storms were not natural. The silences were not malfunctions. This was Earth's immune system, a civilization turned inward, defending against the outside galaxy's return. Suddenly, a new pulse flashed through. The ship, not from the shard, from the planet, a sequence of signals. 3 sharp bursts, then a long pause. A rhythm. It's repeating, Thress said. It's musical. They ran it through translation matrices. The computer produced a simple phrase. You've heard our voice. Now hear our silence. Selak stared at Earth. The clouds churned, faster now, spiraling with quiet rage. He finally understood what they'd awoken. Not a relic, not a machine, but a people. The descent team called themselves the Null Six, elite Vokari Void Marines, veterans of a dozen extinction campaigns. No unit had ever failed to return. Until now, they had never descended into a place like this. Their dropship, Quiet Blade, passed into Earth's upper atmosphere with full countermeasures and jamming fields. No weapons were active, just passive. Scans, just caution. But as soon as they breached the cloud layer, everything changed. From orbit, Admiral Selak Vey watched their telemetry begin to bend, not fail, bend. As if the rules of time and measurement inside the storm weren't wrong, just different. We're picking up gravitational drift, one of the sensor techs muttered. But it's not consistent. The math isn't broken. It's being rewritten. On screen, the quiet blade appeared to slow, though its instruments reported full speed. And then the cloud cover parted like a curtain. Everyone on the bridge fell silent. Below was a vast cityscape, pristine, luminous, and alive. From the cockpit of the dropship, Null Team Leader Carrick's Vale whispered, "This can't be." The city sprawled across what had once been North America, towers of silver and sapphire, vast megalithic spires coiling into the heavens. No decay, no signs of war, not even erosion, but no movement, no people, as if the city had held its breath for 2,000 years, and then something moved. A single figure stood on the tallest spire. It had no armor, no weapons, just a long coat, silver gray in the stormlight, and hair like night. Then its eyes turned toward the dropship. Every system on the quiet blade screamed. "Signal collision," barked the pilot. "Something's inside our nav." Carrick's reached for her override implant. Too late. The dropship halted midair. No momentum, no inertia, just stillness. Like the laws of motion had been politely asked to wait. Then the voice returned. Not through comms, but inside their skulls. "You descend." Into memory uninvited. Carrick's tried to speak, but her mouth didn't obey. The voice continued. "You have forgotten us, but we remember your kind. The Watchers, the Extractors, the ones who skim the bones of the past." Lightning coiled around the spires. "You seek to learn, but cannot hear. You seek to rule, but cannot understand." Carrick's found her voice. Barely. "What? Are you?" Silence. Then, softly, "We are what remains when a people learns not to die, but to transform." Orbit side, Selax. Bridge turned to chaos. "We lost the quiet blade," a technician choked. "No explosion," said another. "Just erased. Again." But a second later, a new data stream appeared. Live feed. Not from the dropship, but from Earth itself, broadcasting directly into the Volcari fleet. It showed the city again, now filled with light, shadows moving, people walking, thousands of Terran forms. Some flickering like ghosts, others solid as steel. A woman stood at the center, gazing up through the clouds. Her voice echoed across every Volcari ship. "You are the first to return. So we offer you a gift." Selak stared in stunned silence. The gift of memory. And then, like a flood, visions poured into the fleet. They saw Earth's final years, the wars, the ascension, the great turning inward. Humanity had grown past machines, past flesh. They had encoded themselves into the planet's quantum lattice, transforming matter and mind into something indivisible. They hadn't died. They had become the planet itself. The clouds were thinking, the storms were dreaming, and now the dream had noticed them. Back on the bridge, Thress whispered, "They're not warning us anymore." Selak nodded, eyes locked on the vision of the ghost woman standing amid the city of lights. "They're inviting us to understand." He stood. "Ready?" "The envoy ship, I'm going down." Admiral Selak Vey had never feared gravity. He had walked on neutron stars, faced down black hole cults, even watched entire ecosystems scream into the void. But as the envoy ship broke through Earth's cloud barrier, Selak understood he was no longer in a universe ruled by physics. Gravity meant nothing here. The clouds weren't mist. They were memory, folded, looped, and humming with ancient code. They whispered to him as he passed through, not in Volcari syntax or machine speak, but in English. "You should not be here, but you are." The shuttle landed on a pristine hexagonal platform rising from a sea of glowing city towers. No sound, no engines. It simply stopped moving, guided gently down by invisible hands. Selak stepped out alone. No escort. No drones. just the weight of 1,000 watching minds pressing against his skull like distant thunder. Then she appeared. The woman from the broadcast, not a hologram, not an avatar, but real, as real as the wind that curled around the platform. Her eyes were too old, too vast, as if they contained every second Earth had ever known. "Welcome, Admiral," she said. "We wondered who would dare answer." Selak didn't speak at first. Every instinct screamed that this wasn't a person. It was a mask for something far older and far more alien, but the voice was undeniably human. "I am Selak Vey," he said, finally. "I command the Vokari fleet. We came believing Earth was dead." She tilted her head, curious. Most corpses don't dream. They walked side by side across a bridge of light, suspended over miles of empty air. Below them, the city pulsed, not with electricity, but thought. "The others," Selak asked, "the ships that vanished. What happened to them?" "They were taken," she said. "Not destroyed, not harmed, just disconnected." "Why?" "Because they came with teeth, and Earth does not tolerate predators anymore." Her voice carried no anger, no pride, just fact. Selak felt something shift in the air. He wasn't speaking to a diplomat. He was speaking to a consensus. "I've seen your message," he said. "Your final will. You encoded yourselves into the planet." She stopped and faced him. "We transcended the need for hardware, for meat. Our minds fused with the Earth's quantum substrate, each thought etched into particles, each soul embedded in the storm. We became indivisible." "You became gods?" She smiled. "No. We became together." They reached the center of the platform. A massive sphere floated above them, transparent, swirling with holographic stars, memories, and light. She gestured to it. "This is the Echo Vault, the last library of Earth. Everything we were, everything we chose to remember." Selak gazed into it, and the sphere reacted. Scenes flooded his mind, children laughing under twin suns, a Terran soldier holding back singularity cults with bare hands, cities growing from thought alone, arguments, art, love, loss, all of it, recorded, by Earth itself, not video, not data, emotion, rendered in light. She turned back to him. "We gave up expansion. We gave up conquest. Because we saw what it made of us. So we chose something else." "Isolation?" Selak asked. "No," she said gently. "Integration." He took a step closer to the sphere. "What happens if others come?" "They already have," she said. "You just arrived first." The sphere pulsed. "Decision point reached," it said. "Single voice authorized." Selak blinked. "What does that mean?" She smiled again, and for the first time, there was sadness in her eyes. "It means you decide what your people remember and what they forget." Selak Vey stood before the Echo Vault, and for the first time in his long, hard career, he hesitated. The woman, if she could be called that, stood beside him in silence, not pressing, not urging. The vault pulsed with thought, with memory, with invitation. "Decision point reached," it said again. "You may take understanding, or leave in ignorance." Selak didn't answer. He was Vokari. The Vokari did not kneel. They did not flinch before strange gods or dead empires, but Earth was neither. Earth was awake. He looked into the vault again. More visions spilled out. Not of Earth, but of the Vokari themselves, their first contact with Terran artifacts, their laughable assumption that Earth had simply failed, their quiet pride as they mapped the ruins from afar, building theories of Terran extinction like it was a sport. And then he saw himself, in command, confident, certain, a puppet dancing on the strings of hubris. Selak recoiled. "This is sorcery," he growled. "You're in my mind." "No," she said softly. "We are in our mind. You just stepped inside it." Above the clouds, the fleet drifted uneasily. The inevitable clarity had gone dark for 3 full hours. No response, no signal, just static and orbital decay. Inside the bridge, Thress watched the sensors shudder and shake again. This time, however, the storms didn't erase ships. They began to speak, not in words, in coordinates, frequencies, emotional fields broadcast like carrier waves. It wasn't an attack, it was a map. On Earth, the woman raised her hand and gestured toward the vault. "You came seeking knowledge. That was honest. So we offer you a gift. One question answered. One truth remembered. You choose." Selak considered, then asked carefully, "What happened to the others? The ones who descended before me?" She closed her eyes. "They're here," she said. He stiffened. "Alive?" "More than alive." She extended her hand. "Come, I will show you." They walked across another bridge, this one into the vault itself. Not into a building, but into memory made solid. Every step echoed like a heartbeat. Inside was a garden, simple, green. A place no longer native to Earth but still remembered with love. And there, sitting on a stone bench, were 3 figures, 2 Vocari and 1 human. The human was ancient, gray-bearded, dressed in a dark uniform from the time before Earth's fall. The Vocari were fully alert, yet serene, watching, listening, changed. Selak stared at them. "Those are my officers." "They chose understanding," she said. He turned sharply. "They abandoned their posts." "No," she said calmly. "They were transformed by knowledge. They saw who we were, who you could be." The old human looked up and smiled. "Admiral," he said, as if greeting an old friend. "You came." Selak approached slowly. "Who are you?" "Captain Henry Vale, last commander of the Terran Stellar Defense Network." He nodded to the vault. "I stayed behind to welcome the next ones who came too close." "You're early," Selak frowned. "You're real?" Vale laughed. "Real enough. Most of me's in the vault now, but I keep this old shape so the new ones don't panic." He leaned forward. "You need to decide, Admiral. Earth won't hurt your fleet, not if you choose peace." Selak turned to the woman again. "This, understanding, what does it mean for us?" She replied, "It means shedding the idea that you must dominate to learn, that you must conquer to survive. It means knowing that sometimes what looks like silence is a question waiting for a better answer." She held out her hand once more. "Will you carry that answer home?" Selak didn't speak. He stepped forward and touched the vault, and the vault opened. The instant Selak touched the vault, everything changed. The platform, the woman, the garden, all dissolved into light, not vanished, but peeled away like skin from a deeper truth. He wasn't standing on Earth anymore. He was within it, suspended in a vast, horizonless space of stars and echoes, an ocean of thought, woven from every memory humanity had ever left behind. A voice, both singular and countless, filled the space. "You have chosen to know. Prepare." Selak was no stranger to mental intrusion. Vocari training hardened the mind like armor, but this was not intrusion, it was invitation, and he could no more resist it than a leaf could stop the wind. Memories surged into him, not images, but direct visceral experiences. He became them. A young girl on Mars laughing under terraformed skies, building wind sculptures out of dust and solar thread, an old man dying of cancer, uploading his mind with shaking hands, his last thought not of fear, but wonder. A mother, holding her child as Earth's skies burned, whispering lullabies that would become the last words ever spoken aloud. Billions of lives, each one vivid, each one real, each one still present, Because none of them had died. They had changed. Our bodies perished, said the voice. Our machines failed, but we remained. Light cannot die, only scatter. Selak floated, weightless, in the sea of minds. You became energy? No, that would be simple. We became structure. We became interface. We laced our consciousness through every magnetic field, every crystalline lattice, every molecule of this world. We are Earth now. He saw it then. Not the planet as the Vocari saw it, a dead husk spinning in low orbit, but as they saw it, alive. The oceans shimmered with embedded mind. The mountains carried thoughts like bones carried blood. Every cloud contained networks of memory. Condensation wrapped around code. The storms weren't weather. They were communication. Earth had become a brain, and it had been waiting. You called us extinct, the voice said. But you never asked if we wanted to be found. You named our silence as weakness. It was protection. Now you arrive, not as conquerors, but as children, reaching for fire. Selak saw the Vocari reflected in this vision. Ambitious, clever, but afraid of the unknown. Always dissecting, but never listening. And now they stood on the edge of something they did not understand or deserve, yet Earth offered the truth anyway. We do not seek revenge. We do not seek worship. We offer only this, a mirror. In it, you may see what we became, or what you will never be. Suddenly, Selak stood once again on the storm-swept platform. The vault shimmered before him. The woman, now clearly no woman at all, but the focus of Earth's mind, watched him silently. He gasped for air like a drowning man returning from the deep. You could destroy us, he managed. She nodded. Yes, but what would that prove? He fell to his knees, not in submission, but in awe. So why show me this? Because you asked, she said simply, and you were the first to listen. Above in orbit, the Vocari fleet stirred, the command channels flickered, and then, for the first time in days, the inevitable clarity came back online. Admiral Selak reporting, his voice echoed through the fleet, calm, steady, changed. Stand down, red protocol. I am returning. With news. Inside the storm, the vault closed slowly behind him. The woman, Earth's echo, gave a final, unreadable smile and whispered, "When next you return, Admiral, come not with ships, come with questions." The Vocari Senate was silent as Selak. They finished speaking. For 7 hours he had stood before them, not as a commander, but as a witness. No flourish, no drama, just facts. What he had seen, what Earth had become, what it had shown him, and what it had offered, a mirror, a choice. Not conquest or diplomacy, but evolution. High Chancellor Dren's voice finally cut the stillness. You ask us to believe that Earth, the human world, survived extinction by merging with its planetary substrate, that it is now alive? No, Selak said quietly. Not alive, enlightened. A ripple of discomfort passed through the chamber. Enlightened? Spat Senator Aonkar. It wiped your fleet's memory cores clean, hijacked our sensory arrays. This is no invitation. It's an act of war. Selak's expression was calm. It could have turned us all to ash. Instead, it let me return. On the observation decks of the inevitable clarity, the crew watched Earth drift slowly in space, blue, still, untouched. It looked small now, not because of its size, but because of its restraint. They had come expecting a corpse. They had found a god. Back in the Senate, Selak placed a small crystalline shard on the table. This, he said, is what Earth gave me. The shard pulsed faintly, emitting no signal the instruments could detect, but the senators flinched. Each of them saw a flash, not a vision, but a memory. their own, pulled up from the corners of their minds, held gently, like a lullaby. "Don't know how it works," Selak admitted. "But it doesn't extract. It reflects." Chancellor Dren leaned forward. "And what do you see when you look into it?" Selak met his eyes. Hope. In the days that followed, the debate raged. Some demanded Earth be quarantined, sealed from contact. Others feared what knowledge might do to Vokari society if allowed to spread. But the youngest senators, the scientists, the children of war-weary colonies, they saw something else. Not a threat, a roadmap. Selak sat alone in his quarters, watching the shard pulse in time with his heartbeat. He had not slept since Earth, not because of fear, but because for the first time in decades he had questions, real questions. Who were the humans truly? What had they seen in themselves that the Vokari never had? Why had Earth waited, not in silence, but in stillness? And why had it let him go? A quiet chime interrupted his thoughts, a message routed through secure channels. It was from Earth, just 6 words. "We will still be listening. No demands. No coordinates, just that. A promise, or a warning, or both." 50 cycles later, the decision was made. Not announced with fanfare, no grand treaty or monument, but a simple change in policy. One line added to the official Vokari expansion. Doctrine. No fleet shall breach Earth's orbit without invitation. No mind shall touch Earth's memory without humility. And beneath it, in Terran English, for reasons no Vokari ever quite explained, come not with ships. Come with questions. Centuries passed, worlds rose and fell, empires reshaped the stars, but Earth remained still, blue, cloud-wrapped, watching, listening, waiting. And then one day a single craft returned, not a dreadnought, not a scout, a seed ship, quiet, unarmed, bearing no flags, only stories. Its mission was not conquest, it was understanding. It hovered in orbit for 9 days, and on the 10th, Earth opened the sky. The end.